Hello and welcome to the Why We See Movies podcast. I am your host, Ron Houghton. Joining me, as always, I got Paul.
Hello.
Today we're going to be doing our annual Academy Awards show, where we look back at the last telecast and give our thoughts.
And just the two of us.
Yeah, just the two of us. Darren couldn't join us today. He's flooring his house.
And I'm not sure if that's a metaphor for something, but go forth and floor, young man.
Yeah, we miss you, Dex. Okay, the 92nd Academy Awards. What did you think?
It's really interesting, all the different things that they try to change up to keep it current, go against the grain of certain things that they've done before, like rebranding certain awards. I thought the flow of it was decent. I know I liked it last time a little bit better than you and Dex did. I just think having no host, but having different people try different things gives an opportunity for varied skits or varied attempts at humor or entertainment. Some of it lands, some of it doesn't.
Yeah, for me, most of it didn't.
Yeah.
I thought it was a pretty dull show overall. Very badly produced in many ways. And the whole idea of having no host, I think, has run its course. I want a host back.
Well, and I think having a host gives the show a personality, right?
Exactly.
Like,
a host can do like a running commentary of the night, keep coming back. And if something happens spontaneously through the night, you have the host there to acknowledge it and make a joke about it. It's usually the unexpected moments that are the ones that you remember from the Oscars. And without a host, it's hard for anyone to answer those unexpected moments. You know what I mean?
It's almost like Twitter's just hosting the show, because I guarantee without a host, a lot of people are just checking in on their Twitter to see what other people are saying about the show.
You got to find some way to bring people back to watch the show, and a really interesting host could be the way to do it.
Yeah.
I heard that the ratings for the Oscars was at an all-time low.
Yeah.
Even like 20% down from last year.
Wow.
And it's not surprising with some of the nominees. Like not nominating Avengers Endgame, I think, was a big mistake.
Yeah. Well, like we said before, none of us would expect the Academy to award that Best Picture. We'd be ecstatic if they did.
Oh, if it won, that would be amazing. But to not even acknowledge it as one of the best films of the year, and clearly the most popular film of the year.
Well, and the cinematic achievement that it represents, they're doing something that a couple other studios have tried to replicate and haven't been able to, like building a universe, and they've done it so well and so successful. Throw it a bone.
Yeah, I wonder if the whole Scorsese theme park debate had anything to do with it around the balloting time. People had that in their mindset that these aren't the films that we want representing Hollywood, and this isn't real cinema. If that got into the heads of some of the voters, I hope not. But anyways, I think they screwed up not being able to use that movie in the marketing for the Oscars.
Yeah.
I thought the opening act with Janelle Monáe was pretty lame. As far as most of the musical acts, it was musical heavy, and I don't think the performances really did it for me.
Yeah, there was only a few, like the surprise Eminem performance was interesting, but it seemed
out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. I was like, oh, okay, yeah.
That's what I mean about really badly produced. That should have been a highlight moment, and I thought a lot of the audience, like I was kind of confused what was going on. Is that really Eminem? The whole introduction, it was sort of an appreciation of the best song category, but I thought that montage was really badly mixed together, and the sound was really bad too.
Yeah, like I wasn't sure if his mic kept cutting out or if...
No, he kept tapping at his ear, which usually means for the engineer to pump up the vocals a little bit. Yeah, I thought that fell flat. Randy Newman played. I thought that was okay. It's nice to see Randy Newman still hanging on.
Well, and the Academy loves them some Randy Newman. And honestly, I thought the best musical performance of the night, as far as the songs that were nominated, was the one from Harriet. I thought out of all the songs, that's the one that had the most personality and actually had a little bit more meat. But yeah, the rest of them just didn't really do it for me. And
that was Cynthia Erivo, who was actually up for Best Actress. She was a 2-time nominee, came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of her before. So.
I'm watching The Outsider on HBO right now, and she's kind of the star of that show, so she's getting a lot of work. As far as other musical acts, there was Idina Menzel. I was going to try to screw up her name. I don't know how he did that so badly, Travolta. That was okay. And then even Elton John, which I knew was going to win Best Song. I thought even that fell flat. I wasn't a big fan of Rocket Man. I think the song is just about as good as the movie, really.
Yeah, well, that doesn't fill me with confidence.
Yeah, not a great night for songs, and it was a very song-heavy telecast.
Well, it almost seemed to me like the award giving it to Elton John, like you said, it was telegraphed a little bit as far as like, well, okay, it's Elton John. They're likely going to give it to him. It almost felt like more of a lifetime achievement award. And I mean, he won an Oscar for Lion King, but I got that feeling of like it was not.
Well, you definitely have to head up when the movie is about you and your friendship and represents, like he just had such an advantage over the other nominees. And nice to see Bernie Taupin get an Oscar too, because for me, he's the brains behind the Elton John operation. inspiration.
The brains behind the voice.
Yeah. So it was a musical heavy night. Didn't have a host. I was just kind of clinging to those few presenters that brought something to the show.
Yeah, I thought when Steve Martin and Chris Rock came out shortly after the opening number, which I didn't mind that opening number, not as much as you did, but I remember Oscar openings that just floored you and got you excited for the rest of the night. And it was good, but it didn't floor me by any means. But then when, Steve Martin and Chris Rock came out and they just played off each other so good, I was thinking, why couldn't you just have these guys co-hosting for the whole night or whatever? Because that worked really well.
Yeah, that was a great line when he said, "This is an incredible demotion."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it kind of is, yeah.
Yeah.
Some of the other presenters that I thought were pretty funny were Kristen Wiig and Maya Rudolph when they did their little, that's acting.
That acting. Yeah, I would say that was a highlight of mine too. Like, I'm a pretty big Maya Rudolph fan. I liked it better than Billie Eilish did because they had that shot of her in the crowd and she
confused.
Looked pretty unimpressed.
Will Ferrell and Julia Louis-Dreyfus did a nice little bit about not knowing what the cinematographer does.
But really knowing what the editor does. Yeah, I'm not always the hugest fan of Will Ferrell either. But yeah, they worked well together. And I really liked the line about, we know what editors are because it used to be Ford versus Ferrari versus Ferrell.
I'm a big fan of both of those too.
Yeah.
There's that Rappers recap in the middle of the show. I'm not quite sure what his name was, but he did an update on everything that had happened so far. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, and it's funny because I had not seen that guy before maybe 2 weeks ago, and then back to back, my wife and I saw him. He was in Brittany Runs a Marathon, and then we can't recall what we saw him shortly after that. But yeah, I had never seen this guy before 2 weeks ago, and then it's funny how somebody just kind of emerges as now you're seeing him all over the place. I thought he did a good job, though.
He even mentions it in his rap that you don't know who I am.
Yeah.
And so, you're right, but you're very entertaining. And yeah, you don't know his name?
No, off the top of my head, I can't think of his name.
There was that bit on Cats with James Corden and Rebel Wilson.
Yeah.
Somebody had to bring Cats up sometime throughout the night. That was a pretty good dig. I've heard the visual effects artists are actually mad at that skit because it kind of threw them under the bus. But put out effects like that, you gotta take the blame.
Just be mad at yourself.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't know if the fault of the movie just lies in the visual effects, but I thought they looked atrocious at the time. So grow a little backbone, guys.
Yeah. One of the presenters, and I don't really know who it was a younger guy. He even made a comment. I'm like, it's very true. He said, "Here, I'm so-and-so, and I'm here to introduce somebody to introduce somebody else." I'm like, yeah, it's very true. There was a lot of the introductions for people to then introduce other people to come up and present awards, and you don't need somebody to introduce them.
The MC usually just announces whoever's on stage. That's all you need.
Watching it on TV, you can have a little graphic on the bottom. If it's somebody that you don't think the audience is going to really know, you can just pop their name up there quick and easy.
Mm-hmm. They don't really do a lot of montages throughout the show anymore, but they did one kind of small one this year that I actually did enjoy. It was for the international movies. Penelope Cruz narrated it. Mm-hmm. It was all about her love of foreign films and Pedro Almodovar. They showed clips of Fellini and Visconti and De Sica, all these great Italian and French movies throughout the year. And in a year of Parasite winning, that was nice, at least a nice montage for which turned out to be the movie of the night anyways, and anything that opens people's minds to seeing more older films outside of Hollywood.
Yeah, I agree, and that's one of the things I always appreciated about them in past shows is exactly where I'm seeing bits of movies that I've either never heard of or wanted to see and haven't seen enough of, and piques your interest. It gets you a little bit more engaged.
The greatest foreign films stand toe-to-toe with the greatest Hollywood films of any era, that's for sure. Maybe one day me and Darren will do just a show of our greatest foreign films. It would take hours, but there's some fantastic ones out there. One part of the show that I'm always attuned to is the memoriam section. I always like to see who passed away, and we tried to do a pretty good job for the year on the podcast to cover the bigger names, but I was surprised out of a few that I missed. One that they did screw up on, they didn't put Luke Perry in it. Big omission.
I was surprised at that too, and I wasn't sure if they thought he's more of a TV actor than a movie actor, but that excuse doesn't wash with me because he's been in movies, and he was in one of the most nominated movies of the night. So, that seemed to be a bit of a whiff for sure.
That was the biggest overlooked one of the night.
And Tim Conway.
That was another one. Not a big movie guy, but he was in a few films that they could have showed clips from for sure.
Well, and just a legend of the entertainment industry, right. You would think that they would acknowledge him somehow. Yeah, I was surprised by that.
Those are two big ones. As for some inclusions that they were just able to get in kind of under the wire would be like Kobe Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't mentioned him on the podcast yet.
His
I don't know if
passing?
we had a
No, I
reason
don't
to,
think we have.
But he actually won an Academy Award for a short film, kind of an animated film.
Dear Basketball? Yeah, I loved it. Actually,
terrific.
yeah, Darren was the one that put that on my radar. I'm not the biggest basketball fan, but this was incredibly well done. Yeah, he's one of those guys that transcends his sport. You don't have to watch basketball to know who Kobe Bryant is. And I was glad to see him included.
For sure. Another one would be Terry Jones from Monty Python, passed away a few weeks ago. We haven't had a chance to talk about him. I'm a huge Monty Python fan from back in the day.
Yeah.
I saw Holy Grail in the theater.
Wow.
Yeah, just what a classic comedy troupe.
You mean it's not just one guy?
Yeah. Terry Jones is maybe one of the least recognizable. He didn't do a lot of work post-Python when you think about it. Not like guys like John Cleese and Eric Idle and Michael Palin. Those are more familiar faces for sure. But Terry Jones definitely from the old days was a big part of it.
Yeah, and I'm a huge Monty Python fan too. I love British humor. So yeah, that's a pretty big passing for sure.
Mm-hmm. He's only the second one to go, I think. Graham Chapman died quite a few years ago, but that was too bad. Buck Henry passed away. I hadn't heard that. He was a famous screenwriter. He wrote The Graduate.
Oh, wow.
He was a major player from Saturday Night Live's early years. Wrote the screenplay for To Die For. Big time talent and hilarious guy. I was a big Buck Henry fan.
The name rings a bell.
Just look it up. You'd know him in a second.
Oh, he wrote Get Smart, Grumpy Old Men. Why does his face look familiar for a writer?
I don't know if he was a head writer from Saturday Night Live, but definitely a big part of their creative team. And he was on air a lot. Besides being a writer, he was also an actor for hire and stuff. He's in A Moment from The Graduate. He's the guy who runs the hotel. He's the clerk.
Oh, gotcha. Just looking over his filmography and his writing. Yeah. And recent stuff, too. It's not like he just dropped off. Mm-hmm. So pretty impressive.
Stanley Donen, a director, passed away. I can't believe I missed that one throughout the year. He directed Singing in the Rain.
Oh, wow.
Directed Charade, Two for the Road, Arabesque. Who else surprised me? We lost a few foreign imports, a couple of actresses from the European wave of the 60s. Bibi Andersson, who was a big star of a lot of Ingmar Bergman films, passed away, as did Anna Karina, who was Jean-Luc Godard's muse in the 1960s. She starred in many of his films.
Yeah, I think I've heard both you and Dexter mention her before.
And last but not least, Kirk Douglas passed away at 103, one of Hollywood's last big-time movie stars. I remember when he had his stroke in the mid-90s, he was in a wheelchair in the Oscars, and they kind of gave him a standing ovation, and we're like, I thought those might be the last few days of Kirk Douglas, and, this is 24 years later. Wow.
Impressive run, impressive legacy. I've only seen a handful of his films, his older films, and I've thought he's outstanding in all of them. Like, he's one of those silver screen gems. It's hard to see people that have such an instant presence like he did. One of my favorite older movies that you lent me is Ace in the Hole. And that's a phenomenal movie. And that was earlier in his career. I think that was from 1951.
Yeah, he started in the film noir days, so I would say late 40s.
Yeah, it's just such an incredible talent, such a great philanthropist, and of course the legacy of Michael Douglas. Just an absolute legend.
And when it comes to a film like Ace in the Hole, Kirk Douglas was never one to shy away from the scoundrels. He played a lot of guys who were complicated heroes, if you want to say that. The one in Ace in the Hole, you could barely call him a protagonist. He is
not
such
somebody
a
you're going to
self-serving
root
son of a
for.
bitch in it. Yeah, he could play anything. He could play Spartacus, the big-time action hero in movies like that, or the Vikings, and he could also play smaller character roles, too. He's in two of the great Hollywood movies of all time, The Bad and the Beautiful and 2 Weeks in Another Town. Yeah, an amazing talent.
Yeah.
Me and Darren will probably go into some more Kirk Douglas movies when he's back next time.
Definitely somebody that I want to check out more of his filmography for sure. Because like I said, everything I've seen him in, you understand why he is held in such high regard. He's not somebody where you see and you're like, well, what's all the fuss about? One
of the big time movie stars that we had left. I would say there's Darren's favorite, Olivia de Havilland, who's 103 as well.
Wow.
She's hanging on. And Sophia Loren is still alive in her 80s. There's not many left from that era.
And it's hard to say, like, as much as you're going to miss that person's presence in Hollywood, it's tough to say you're sad to see them go. I mean, 103 is a pretty full life.
Oh, it's a life only to be celebrated. Yeah, I just watched his last film this week. I had it on a shelf, and this was a perfect reason for me to check it out. It's called Illusion. He plays an old-time movie director who's coming to grips with some past mistakes in his life. It's almost like a Christmas Carol type of movie. He's visited by kind of a ghost and looks into his past. it was pretty good. I think he was in his 90s when he shot it. His performance is all from bed. It's not a very mobile performance, but he still had the goods for sure.
That's a smart director will work around whatever inabilities a star like that has. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. I'm curious to check that out as much as I am to check out his early filmography. Yeah, the late stuff too.
I'll go through my shelves and grab you a few good ones.
I appreciate it.
So we had to mention that one of Hollywood's greatest legends gone. Okay. Did you have any other moments of the show that you want to talk about before we get into the actual awards?
I think that covers the gist of it, really. Like, I thought it was an okay show, but yeah, it's definitely not one that's going to stand out from the crowd for sure.
Yeah. I haven't missed an Academy Award show since I was a little kid. And for me, the last few have really been bottom of the barrel as far as the actual producement of the shows went.
I know you used to record them. I don't know if you still record the Oscars, but
it's hard to record anything permanently because it's on a PVR, right? As opposed to a tape. Or a disc.
Yeah. But it's just one of those things, like, I even think, like, in the era of just being able to stream whatever moment you want, or, you know, you've got instant access to whatever little moment from the show. There's not a lot of little moments from, 3.5 hour production? And I can't think of 5 minutes of it that I would want to go back and revisit. Really? It's funny. I didn't even find a lot of the acceptance speeches to be very stirring. There was a couple attempts.
And I still can't believe that people aren't ready to get on stage and they haven't rehearsed, especially when it's groups of people who are accepting an award, like 3 editors or something, right? Who have worked on it, and they haven't planned out who's going to speak when. On stage is way too late to start deciding these things.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if there's a group of 3, exactly, you know your order and say you've got 10 seconds to thank whoever, or just say, Ron, you're speaking for the 4 of us, right?
Exactly. It should all be decided beforehand.
Drives me nuts.
It really does. Okay, so for the awards, I guess we should just start with the big ones right off the bat. That was the big news for the night. Parasite dominating with 4 awards, Best Picture, Best Director, Best Screenplay, and Best International Film. That's one of the new renamings of the categories you mentioned.
No longer foreign language film, it's international feature film.
So I was thrilled. It wasn't my number one pick for the night. I wouldn't have minded if Once Upon a Time in Hollywood edged it out. I wouldn't have minded if Tarantino won Best Director too. But Parasite is a fantastic movie. It will definitely be in my top 2 or 3 of the year. I'm a huge fan of Bong Joon-ho. I have been singing this guy's praises for at least 10 years now.
You sure have.
From Snowpiercer to Okja, which is great.
No. We'll agree to disagree on that one.
To The Host, to Mother. This guy has been knocking out one great movie after another, and it's nice to see him get this kind of recognition. And just to show the Academy is really changing. Before, it was a big deal for just a foreign film to be nominated. But to win it, apparently they're actually watching these movies too, which is nice, because I think if you actually sit down and watch Parasite, there's no doubt it is one of the best films of the year and deserved all the accolades it got.
Yeah, it was a movie I was already wildly anticipating seeing, but then seeing it get the accolades through the night just amped that up a little bit. And I agree with you. Like, my heart was pulling for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because I love that movie. But the message that it sent, because the old Academy would just give Parasite the best international film, and then you be happy with that, and then we'll let the real Hollywood movies win this award.
Perfect example was when Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah.
That was a foreign film that could have won the Best Picture that year.
And should have. But yeah, I agree. I haven't seen Parasite as of yet, but I loved the message that it sent as much as I would have wanted Tarantino to win. It's one of those things, kind of like when Beauty and the Beast was nominated for Best Picture and it's in the animation category. Well, clearly it's going to win that. Same goes for Parasite here. If it doesn't win Best International Film, why is it in the best overall? So that was kind of a foregone conclusion, but amazing. That was such a happy surprise.
And the crowd seemed pretty surprised too, and quite taken with Jong-ho over the night. He got to go up on stage a few times.
And he always kept thinking this was his last time on stage, so time to drink until morning.
Exactly.
And he'd be up there shortly after.
For sure. And for me, the highlight of the night was when he thanked Martin Scorsese and did the tribute to him, and then Scorsese got the standing ovation.
Yeah.
I thought that's a great moment between 2 eras of filmmaking coming together and the respect that these guys show each other. Wow.
I agree. And mentioning Tarantino too, saying like you're a director that's always, been beating the drum for me and you've always been in my corner and promoting me. It's great to see somebody that is so humble and appreciative of where they are and how they got there. Yeah, I agree. That was great. That was probably my favorite speech and moment.
And not only great for Bong Joon-ho and Parasite, but the Korean film industry as well, who have been doing incredible work over the last 20 years with directors like Park Chan-wook and Kim Ji-won and Lee Sang-dong, as well as Bong Joon-ho. Those are just some of my favorites, with other Korean films that he hasn't directed. A Tale of Two Sisters, the Old Boy trilogy, Secret Sunshine, The Man from Nowhere, The Handmaiden, I Saw the Devil, The Wailing, The Train to Busan, and then just last year's Burning. These guys are making some terrific films, and that must have been a real shot in the arm the other night.
Well, and get a different voice acknowledged and accepted, because it's really just stating their acceptance within that industry now. I've seen the Old Boy trilogy and Snowpiercer, and obviously you're more versed in their cinema than I am, but if you're looking for something that's different than everybody complains about how Hollywood movies are all the same or this or that, seek out some of these movies, because it's a completely different voice, and it might be the exact thing that you're wanting to see.
Bong Joon-ho had a great line at the DGA Awards when he won that, where he said, if American audiences could just get over that 1.5-inch barrier of the subtitle, a whole world of cinema could open up to them.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah. Why would you deprive yourself of seeing a great movie because you don't want to quote unquote read the movie? That's it's asinine in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
you are shutting yourself off from the majority of great films, in my opinion.
If all you want to watch are Hollywood movies that are in English, well, that's fine. That's your entertainment. But I think you're just really limiting yourself, and you might just find something else that maybe you could really like and appreciate.
Sure. I'm a different person from the foreign films that I've watched over the years. They have changed my outlook on the whole world. I don't know what my feelings toward film would be if you just took out all of those foreign films. I always say the difference between foreign films and Hollywood films, of course, is Hollywood films are about pleasing the audience and foreign films are about pleasing the filmmaker. So they're always much more personal and artistic driven.
They just don't have the huge budgets to invest in them, but that doesn't mean it's not a good movie.
Right. If you're after just nothing but spectacle, of course Hollywood does that better than anybody. But if you're interested in movies more about people and story, foreign films are usually the way to go. So Parasite, check it out if you're interested in a fantastic movie.
And I am.
Yeah. Enjoy my copy.
I definitely will.
Okay. Moving on to some of the other awards. Let's get on to the big 4 acting awards. Joaquin Phoenix won for Best Actor for Joker. Not a surprise.
No.
I don't think any of the 4 acting awards were surprises. I had them kind of a lock weeks ago. These 4 guys have been winning everything, so I didn't think it was going to change, and it didn't. Great for Phoenix.
Yeah.
Nominated 4 times. And if last year you were going to tell me he was going to win the Oscar for this, I would have laughed.
And a movie that we weren't even sure how interested we were going to be in it. Just everything that was coming out about it. But yeah, a knock it out of the park performance. Obviously the second actor to win an Oscar for a Joker performance. But completely different than Heath Ledger's, which it needed to be, but amazing. And I haven't seen all the performances in this category, but I would have been surprised if he didn't win.
Yeah, as far as that double Joker win, that has now scrapped what used to be my favorite movie trivia question I used to ask people all the time, which is, what famous movie character has 2 Academy Award wins by 2 famous actors, both playing that same role?
I don't know. I'll feel dumb, probably.
It's a famous movie character that everybody knows, and 2 of the most famous actors of all time. And they both won Oscars for playing him. Almost nobody gets it when I ask them this. The role of Vito Corleone was played by both Marlon Brando and Robert De Niro in the Godfather movies, and they both won Oscars for it.
Yeah, I should know that because I freaking love those movies.
Yeah. And now, now we have 2 characters, the Joker and Vito Corleone.
Well, a little bit different.
Classic characters.
Yeah.
So great win, great acknowledgement from the crowd, and one of the more interesting speeches of the night for sure. You can tell he worked on it, was trying to get his own message across.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got the world is your stage at that point. It's your time to get whatever message you want out there. At first, I wasn't sure where he was going with it a little bit, but he got on track, and yeah, I think it was a really interesting speech. And
I was surprised that throughout all of his speeches that he's won all these awards, he hasn't really called out more for the issue of mental illness and the awareness of it.
Yeah, considering that's such a huge part of the character.
Yeah, it's really kind of what the movie is about.
That's a good point. But yeah, I was glad to see him win because I'm such a fan of his body of work. It's nice to see these people that you're a fan of get acknowledged. So
Yeah. Best Actress was won by Renee Zellweger. This is her second win after Cold Mountain's Supporting Actress. I haven't seen Judy yet. I plan on seeing it sometime.
Yep.
I'm a big-time fan of old Hollywood movies, so I'll check out that for sure. And to see how well she portrays Judy Garland, a very troubled actress in her own time.
I was curious about this too, because I've got very limited knowledge of Judy Garland. Certainly not deep, but yeah, I like you, like anything that's going to give you a glimpse into the personality of somebody that's got such an iconic status, seeing how that's portrayed for sure.
I wonder if there's going to be any parallels to Renee's own story. This is kind of a comeback movie for her. She disappeared from the spotlight for many years. I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I don't know if she was marginalized from Hollywood, maybe in the same way that Judy Garland was. I'm not quite sure if there's going to be parallels like that. Could be very interesting and good for her.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Best Supporting Actor, Brad Pitt, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I saw this coming when we saw the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he owned this performance, and it's such a great role. Long overdue for a win.
And yeah, he really steals this movie for sure. It's a supporting role, but yeah, he shines, and you just love this character, and well deserving. Another actor that, yeah, I've loved his body of work for quite a long time. Like, I think he chooses some really interesting projects, and
He's a terrific actor.
Yeah, I think he's great.
I think his last nomination was for Moneyball, and he could have won that year. I think that's a great movie.
Yeah, it is.
For me, if there is such a thing as a movie star anymore, I think he's one of the last ones we have. So, yeah, good on him.
Yep, I agree.
I would say you look at the other nominees, and I would say this was maybe the most stacked group of nominees out of the whole bunch, up against Tom Hanks, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, and Anthony Hopkins.
Right. All fantastic actors.
Right. I mean, if you're going to win with that company, that's pretty sweet.
It's well deserved. Well, and it's funny because they kept showing clips of the movies. You just got a whole ton of Irishman clips because you had two actors from the same movie, really.
Okay, Best Supporting Actress was Laura Dern for Marriage Story.
Yep.
As we said, she's having a Dernaissance
the
last few years. So great for her. Another person who's been in the business for a long time. I remember seeing her as a teenager in movies like Mask and Blue Velvet.
Peter Dews.
Yeah, you want to check out an interesting movie she was in as a teenager. There's one called Smooth Talk with her and Treat Williams. It's a psychologically disturbing film about sexual awareness. Let's say that. And she's terrific in it.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm a huge Laura Dern fan, and she's been in a lot. I would say this performance didn't blow me away, and mostly because it's, I hesitate to say normal person that she's portraying in those performances don't tend to blow me away like a performance like a Joker or whatever, but I can't quibble with her getting selected because she did great with the material she had. She's a great actress, so.
And great to see the shout out to her parents, Diane Ladd and Bruce Dern. Too bad it looked like Bruce Dern couldn't make it to the show. Don't know what his health is right now. We just saw him in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood for that.
That's true.
Brief cameo.
Yeah, that was a great speech.
Yeah, if you're really lucky, you have your heroes as your parents.
Yeah,
I thought that was nice.
That was great.
Yeah, so for the 4 acting awards, no complaints for me. I thought across the board they were pretty solid choices.
Yep.
Other awards I was pretty happy with was Taika Waititi winning for screenplay, the first Aboriginal win for a writer. This guy has been staking his claim for the last few years with some pretty great work.
And he's definitely got a unique voice, which I can appreciate. Whether I'm a huge fan of his work thus far or not, I can appreciate that, yeah, he's definitely doing something different and his own and owning it.
I can't wait to see Jojo Rabbit. I haven't yet. It comes out very soon. He's usually so cool and funny, but he looked a little
shaken.
Yeah, I think he was surprised at the win.
Yeah, I thought so too, because I was thinking the same thing, is that, yeah, he usually has that charisma.
Very aloof.
Exactly. And yeah, he just seemed, a little nervous. And the moment kind of got to him, which it's nice to see that though, because it gives you that glimpse of, as much as people say award shows don't matter, I think that's BS. I think
a lot of maybe don't matter, but the Academy Awards sure do. Yeah. And I think when you walk home with an Oscar, you know that you're in rarefied company.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And if this award show meant nothing, then all these major stars wouldn't be showing up from year to year.
You know, when you die, they don't say Golden Globe or People's Choice Award winner passed away. They say Academy Award winner passed away.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. One moment I really did like, and she has become a real favorite of mine, is Olivia Colman from The Crown. Yeah. And that English wit, she's just so charming.
Yeah.
And she said, I just like to thank you. It was the best night of my husband's life.
And I hope the winner enjoys their evening as much as my husband did.
Fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I agree. Because, she had one of my favorite speeches from last year. And you're right. I forgot about that moment. On stage for 20 seconds and just owns it and captures captivating.
You can always tell the people who are reading the rehearsed garbage the writers have come up with, and someone like her who must have ripped it in half and said, no, I can do better than this, thanks.
Yeah.
And came out
I got
and riffed
this, hold my beer.
beautifully.
Yeah.
Everything I see her in, I just love her to death.
Yeah, I agree. And I can't wait to check her out in The Crown. I agree. Everything I've seen her in, I've really appreciated her work.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic.
Yep.
I always complain that the honorary awards aren't presented live like they used to be. A handful of people won, like Wes Studi, a great native actor.
Yeah.
David Lynch, the great David Lynch.
Yep.
Lena Wertmuller, a German director who was actually the first woman to ever be nominated for Best Director.
Wow.
For her film Seven Beauties. It's terrific. And Gina Davis won the Jean Hersholt Award. It's a humanitarian award. Usually they would tell you why she won it and what causes she's interested in, but that's just all cut for time.
They only had 30 seconds. Yeah, and I agree. I used to really look forward to that, even if it was 5 minutes going through. And I mean, it wasn't 5 minutes, but they devoted that little bit of time so that it didn't seem like an afterthought. Oh, yeah, and by the way, these people won too, right? Because, yeah, I agree. I've appreciated Wes Studi's work. Gina Davis is great. David Lynch, what more can you say?
I always say I'm not watching these shows for the dresses and the outfits or the musical numbers and all that stuff. I'm interested in the work. I love movies and film, and that's really all I'm interested in. So when you take these giant talents and kind of marginalize them to the show, and you're taking away, for me, what the heart of the show should be about.
I agree, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, that's some of the major awards. You can go through the list here and talk about some of the smaller categories if you want.
You consider animation a smaller category?
Yeah, best animated feature. No surprise there with Toy Story winning.
To me, it was a bit of a boring pick. It's not what I would have picked. I mean, I would have picked the third installment of How to Train Your Dragon. I thought it was a little bit more
over all the other ones.
Oh yeah,
really
because it was a great conclusion to the trilogy. Like you're invested in these characters at this point. Toy Story 4, it's weird. I wasn't as invested as I thought I would be, and I need to rewatch it because it might feel differently. I figured it would win. My heart was pulling for that How to Train Your Dragon. I
know you're a huge fan of that franchise.
Yeah,
I liked the third one. I actually didn't love it, Paul. I didn't even like it as much as the first two. I don't think. I thought it was the weakest of the three. Yeah. Maybe I was in a bad mood that day.
Oh, it's all good.
I also checked out the other nominees. Like I told you, that Missing Link was nominated, so I watched that. And I saw I Lost My Body on your recommendation. It's very good. Yeah. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
I quite liked it, and I was glad to see it nominated because, it's something different. And honestly, that's one of the reasons I look forward to this animation category is that you might know going into it, Toy Story 4 is going to win, but I'm always curious to see what else is out there, like a Red Turtle or something, like a movie I've not heard of that I want to investigate and watch for myself. And this falls into that category.
For sure. I'm glad it got included. Otherwise, it falls through the cracks and you might not even hear about these movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you see Klaus?
No, but I want to, and I think it's on Netflix.
It is on Netflix, but I don't remember it on Netflix around Christmas time, which is weird.
Yeah.
Because it's a Christmas story.
Yeah.
It felt kind of strange for me watching this in February.
Yeah.
But it's very entertaining. Me and Kelly just put it on as kind of a lark, not expecting much, almost expecting to turn it off.
Yeah.
And we're both really surprised at how entertaining it was. It's worth a watch out there. It's on Netflix, like you said.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of positive things about this before the award ceremony, thinking it would give Toy Story 4 a run for its money for Best Animated Feature. I haven't seen it, so I don't know whether that's warranted or not. But yeah, it definitely looks interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I enjoyed all the animated films to a point, but Toy Story 4 for me probably would be the winner.
Yeah.
You're right. It's a safe choice, though. As for the animated short, the winner was Hair Love.
Funny enough, just watched it at lunch today.
Okay. I watched it yesterday. It's pretty good.
I liked it. I thought it was as heartfelt as you can really get with an 8-minute animated movie. Like, it deals with, obviously, an issue that I don't have to deal with of having unruly hair. I mean, I'm a Caucasian male that has pretty straight hair. So
we're just lucky to still have any.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But I know it's a big deal for a lot of people that have to tame a wild beast of hair for their lifetime and kind of how it can be that bonding moment. And not to give too much away, but there's a moment at the end that I thought was really touching where it deals with the mother.
Yeah. For an 8-minute short, it goes into directions that you might not think it's going to at the beginning. Really worked well.
Yeah, I thought so.
A total aside here. Chris Rock actually did a documentary called Good Hair a few years ago.
Oh,
which
really?
Is all about black women trying to deal with their hair. It's very good and pretty funny.
Yeah? Huh. Yeah. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. That was pretty entertaining. I haven't seen any of the other shorts, but after the win, I thought I'd check that one out.
Yeah, I was curious about Kitbull. That's also on YouTube, I believe. When I saw the nominations, I went and looked to see what else was on there, and I think Sister is as well. But I haven't seen them. I just saw Hair Love, which it's deserving the award.
And for live action short film, I checked out the winner of that one too. It's called The Neighbor's Window. It's about a 20-minute short film. It was interesting. Again, it goes in different directions than you might think so as well. Maybe a little more conventional than I thought it could have been for an Oscar winner, but worth watching.
The 2 seconds they showed, it just reminded me of like Rear Window. I don't know why. I just looked kind of like...
There's a bit of voyeur to it for sure.
Just as a little bit of an aside, now that we're going through the awards, I found it a little odd, just in the presentation order, that they presented Best Animated Feature and then they did Animated Short. Because typically they would do the short and then the feature length. So I don't have a problem with it. It just threw me off a little bit.
They're trying to bunch up a lot of these now. Yeah. Like they'll give away like one presenter will do 2 or 3 of these smaller awards at a time.
Yeah.
I don't mind that. It seems that it's the smaller awards that the people always ramble on in their speeches the most.
Yeah.
Which I find always hilarious. It's like Brad Pitt will go up there and stick to the 45 seconds, but you have someone you've never heard of rambling for 3 minutes.
Because you might never see them again.
Right. As for documentary, American Factory one, that's currently on Netflix right now. I watched it a few weeks ago. It's terrific.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about a Chinese factory moving to the States, to a small town that's had factory closings, and they're trying to invigorate some new life into these small towns. And it's the schism between American and Chinese culture and how they try to find a way to work together. It's quite interesting. The new realities of what the middle class in America are going to be facing, the whole prospects of globalization.
Yeah, this looks really interesting to me, and I was happy that I found out afterwards that it was on Netflix. So yeah, I definitely want to check this one out.
You know, the world paradigm of American companies moving to foreign locales and hiring foreign workers and them having to do things the American way is just gone topsy-turvy in this movie with the Chinese coming there, and it's all backwards, and it's really interesting.
I think it'd be interesting to see probably a potential culture clash just ingrained in people's work ethic and attitudes. I think that would be an interesting thing to explore too. So.
I'm so happy Parasite won its awards, but feel a little cheated that it won both Best Picture and Best International Film.
Yeah.
It seemed a little greedy, which is too bad because you almost want to go back and say, okay, they won the Best Picture. Let's give the Best International to someone else. And that would
quote unquote runner up.
Right. And for me, that would be Pedro Almodovar's film, Pain and Glory. That was the one Antonio Banderas was nominated Best Actor for. It's a terrific movie.
I hadn't heard of it before, but I'm such a huge fan of his that any project he's involved in, I'm instantly interested in.
Yeah, he plays, it's almost a semi-autobiographical tale of Pedro Almodovar, the director, and he plays a filmmaker later in life who's haunted by things of the past. If you haven't seen any of his films, Almodovar, he's definitely an acquired taste. This great Spanish filmmaker, he makes these giant melodramatic films. Lots of gusto and personality, and they're just fantastic. So that was too bad. Maybe shared the wealth a little, but how do you know these things?
Yeah, and I was thinking that too, that exactly that. Like, it's cool that they were the double winner, but, you know, give that moment to somebody else.
You almost think if you get nominated for Best Film, they might have to exclude you from the international category.
Yeah.
Maybe, and find another choice. If we're going to keep having all these international movies win,
I
wouldn't that
agree.
be quite the new thing?
Yeah.
Right? Could you imagine if next year another foreign film won?
Could you imagine if last year Roma did win a black and white foreign film, how many people would have been pissed off they have to read a black and white movie?
And I'm sure that was pretty close to being the winner last year. That's pretty funny. Could you imagine 2 back-to-back foreign films? Because I can't imagine even if Roma won last year, it would have changed Parasite's chances this year.
I agree.
Who knows? Changing landscapes.
Yep.
Production design, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood won. That was only one of the 2 awards it won. Well deserved. It's such a great looking movie and no CGI in it. It's all practical. They did a great job. It deserved the win.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. And I think Darren said at the time we did our review of it that it just, you know, seeing it up on screen reminded him of the time he visited LA as a kid where it was like spot on, just exactly that, like capturing the exact time period of it perfectly. And to do it all practically is impressive because there's so many movies now that would just go, we'll just green screen it or fix it in post or whatever. But Tarantino doesn't do that. He's such
a purist.
Purist and eye for detail. And man, I appreciate the hell out of that.
For sure. Film editing, Ford and Ferrari won. I have just caught up with that recently. well deserved. Tell with a race car movie, it has it's a very dynamic looking film, I'll tell you that. And there's some great sequences. I don't know if I'll do a full rave on it, but yeah, let's just say I liked it as much as Ivan did for sure. And I think it definitely deserved to be nominated Best Picture. Crowd pleasing entertainment. Yeah, terrific movie. I think it won a few awards through the night. Sound editing, maybe that was it.
I think that's the only two I remember. But still, like, editing, that affects the flow of a movie, and I haven't seen the movie, but yeah, something like that, like a car race would have such a frenetic pace, and if edited poorly, then that would take your audience completely out of it. And I think that's something that's so easy to overlook if you're not really paying attention, that you're just like, oh yeah, it had a really good pace. Well, it had a good pace because the editor did his job very well.
Right. And it's not a short film. It's a 2.5 hour movie. Anytime you give editing to a longer film, like I think The Irishman could have won for editing, even though it was 4 hours. It's still a beautifully put together film, in my opinion. Too bad about The Irishman being shut out. I don't think it won a single award.
That was a little surprising and also funny that, Joker went in with the most nominations and it came out with
just two. Yeah, that was a nice win, though, the original score.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, out of all of the scores that year, that one stuck with me the most. I picked that to win, and it was nice to see. I wasn't too familiar with her. She's the 4th woman to win composer. Not even sure what country she's from. She seems Scandinavian.
That's what I thought too. And I appreciated the sound and atmosphere that it brought to Joker. Like, it just has like off-putting and kind of odd feel to it, which is exactly what you want out of that score. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of the score for Arrival, which I think was a Scandinavian composer too, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember, but different. Like, not just your traditional sweeping pieces, just something, very identifiable and fits that piece perfectly.
I always think something that when you lift it off the screen, some of the best music is stuff that only you can listen to while it's on top of a film. I don't know if that's true or not with this, but you're right. It has kind of a dark, off-kilterish approach to it. Yeah, good win. And big round of applause for her. I think she got a standing ovation. Maybe they thought it was the first woman to ever win it.
Yeah, maybe. Well, and it was interesting. I know a lot was made of there not being a female director nominated either. And I don't know, that's such a tough one because I'm a firm believer that if the people nominated are completely there on merit, then I don't care if they're all women. I haven't seen all the movies and the work of the directors that were nominated, so it's hard for me to say. But I thought it was interesting. Did you hear about Natalie Portman's Cape? I thought that was an interesting middle finger to the Academy. But
I guess it's some sort of statement. I don't know. I kind of agree with you. There should be some sort of meritocracy to it all. Maybe Greta Gerwig deserved to be put in there. I haven't seen Little Women yet. The best movie I've seen that was directed by a woman so far is probably Booksmart by Olivia Wilde. But would I have replaced any of the 5 nominated directors with her? I'm not quite sure. You can't just include someone just because of who they are. It should be the work that they've done.
Right. And it's something that kind of bleeds its way into different areas of society. Like the NFL has what they call the Rooney Rule, where a team that's hiring a coach has to interview at least one black coach. It just at some point seems pandering. So I like to at least give the Academy Awards the benefit of the doubt that the people that are there on merit.
Exactly. When Sigourney Weaver and Brie Larson, Gal Gadot, all came out. It was nice to see those 3. And then at the end, what did they say? It's like, and for all the women out there, all women are superheroes.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay.
We got it.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if someone went up there and said that about men. Every man in the world is a superhero.
You're all sons of bitches.
Really?
Yeah.
I know a lot of assholes.
Yeah.
It's just like...
some days I am one.
This whole idea of putting an entire gender on a pedestal.
Yeah. And I have no problem with the comments being made and observing that, like, well, it's too bad a woman director wasn't nominated. That's fine. But don't beat our head over the...
Spike Lee gave the award for Best Director to Bong Joon-ho. Bong Joon-ho's the first Korean to win Best Director. No African American has won Best Director yet.
Yeah.
I didn't hear Spike Lee rip the envelope in half and say, fuck this.
Yeah, exactly.
It should have happened by now.
Yeah.
And it hasn't. It's
and I'm
amazing that there's Mexican and Taiwanese now and Korean. Lots of different filmmakers from around the world, but no African American wins.
Yeah.
Yes, it's long overdue, but I don't really think that you should base next year's entire show around that issue.
No, you don't want to have the counterpoint to what people might have felt is missing from this year or whatever, because you'll be in a constant course correction and you're never going to please everybody.
Exactly.
And speak to that year's Wars quality of film is there on merit,
Right.
And
I think Lupita Nyong'o was robbed of a Best Actress nomination. It has nothing to do with the fact that she was black.
she put in a fucking fantastic performance.
Right. It's the work that counts.
Yeah, exactly. But that's not the times we live in.
No, not today.
Everybody has a cause and everybody's upset about something.
Some legitimate, some wildly overblown.
Mm-hmm. Two angry old white men.
Yeah.
Get off my lawn.
That's most of the awards.
Visual effects, 1917.
Oh, yeah. 1917 won a few awards.
Yep.
Visual effects, sound mixing, and cinematography.
Mm-hmm.
That was Roger Deakins' second win.
Yeah, such a legend.
It was 17 or something nominations, no win, and now he's won twice in a row, making up for it.
Yeah.
In a category I frankly don't think he deserved this year.
No.
I understand. I've seen 1917, and we'll talk about it soon on our next show. But I don't think it's maybe the magic trick of editing that a lot of people think it might be. Alfred Hitchcock did this with Rope in 1948. I mean, it's been done a few times throughout history. This isn't one long take. That's only been done a few times. That Russian Ark movie did it a few years ago. We'll talk about all this later. Anyways, I like 1917 a lot, but I just don't think it deserved the awards that it won. Let's say that.
So what would you have given visual effects to in cinematography?
I would have given it to Avengers Endgame. Frankly, I think there's not probably a moment in that movie that doesn't have a visual effect shot in it. Or The Irishman. That movie looks absolutely amazing through the period and all the different eras without all the de-aging. I don't think they understand how many cameras they had to use on this. They had to use these giant, cumbersome cameras to do the de-aging. There was a lot of work to be done. That could have won, in my opinion. I think 1917 might be one of the least deserving, unfortunately.
Interesting. And it's funny, I don't know, Star Wars, it's a franchise that relies so heavily on special effects. You just know it's going to get nominated, and it just never seems to win, even though I think it's got fantastic special effects. But I guess if it won every time it was nominated, that would get boring, and then we complain about that. But still, it's just, when's the last time Star Wars won for any kind of effects? And it's such a franchise known for driving the industry in effects.
I don't know. Some of the prequels might have won for those awards, but
yeah, maybe.
I'm not positive. Yeah, I would have liked to see Avengers at least get one trophy for the night.
Yeah.
But oh well. Okay. Anything else you want to mention?
I don't think so. I think, all in all, the show was fine. As we've said a couple times, when it's, Hollywood Super Bowl, you don't want to just have a fine show. You don't want the Patriots versus the Rams. You want something very memorable that people are talking about for the right reasons. Like you, I like to watch this to see people get honored for the work they've done. So
hopefully next year they get a decent producer and a host that can draw in some more viewers and maybe make the night a little more memorable. I'm still hoping Eddie Murphy will do it one time.
Well, and it's funny that they go without the host for time constraints, but they still run 3.5 hours, which is what they were running with a host. So
right, it's not sometimes the host can speed things up.
Exactly, keep it moving.
Like you said, we don't need a presenter to present a presenter.
Yeah,
you can skip all of that stuff. For me, the length of the show doesn't matter. I'll watch an extra half an hour if the entire show was more entertaining. It's like a movie. A 3-hour movie will fly by if it's done well, while a 2-hour terrible movie can be excruciating.
Exactly.
The one thing that a host can do is like Chris Rock, he would bring his own personal flavor to the show. Sometimes there'd be video bits and montages and stuff that only could have been done by the host, who brought his own personal take and unique way of looking at things to the show.
Yeah, I agree. As much as it was an interesting experiment, time to move on.
Okay, we'll see what they do for the 93rd Academy Awards.
Yep.
Okay, let's wrap it up for now.
We shall.
Okay, next time we'll be back to talk about Sam Mendes' World War I film, 1917, and the new DC Extended Universe film, Birds of Prey.
Yeah,
with Margot Robbie. Okay, until then, you can give us a like on our accounts on Facebook and Instagram. And if interested, you can always check out our past reviews at our own website, whywecmovies@libsyn.com. Take care and ciao.
Ciao, ciao for now.